This is part 71 of C# tutorial. In this video, we'll discuss code snippets in Visual Studio. So what are code snippets? Code snippets are ready-made snippets of code you can quickly insert into your code. Let's understand these code snippets with an example. Let's flip to Visual Studio. Here I have a console application. Now let's say, for example, we want to write code for the for loop, and to do that we start off by typing the keyword for, open the bracket, int I is equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus, close the bracket, open the curly bracket, close the curly bracket. Now, to save all this time in typing, we can use code snippets. And there are several ways to insert a code snippet. And one of the easiest ways is to simply right click and then select Insert Snippet from the context menu. And look at that, the moment I do that, we will arrive at this interface. And we want to generate code for the for loop in C#. So I'm going to expand this folder and then select for loop from there. And look at that, the moment I do that, the code for loop is generated. And look at this, all the editable fields are highlighted in yellow. So the first editable field here is the variable name I. So if I don't want to change it, I simply press tab, and look at that, the moment I press tab, the next editable field is automatically highlighted. Now let's say, for example, I want to go back to the previous editable field, and to do that press shift tab. So I am back at the first editable field. Now let's say, for example, I want to change this variable name to J, so I simply change it to J. And look at that, once I change that variable name to J, the other instances of that variable are still I. But then once I press tab, look at what's going to happen. All the other instances are also automatically changed to J. And then the next editable field is automatically highlighted for us. Now let's say I want the condition to be as J less than 10. So I change that length to 10. And then look at this. I'm done now editing these fields. Now I want to exit from field editing mode. And to do that, there are two ways. You can either press escape key or enter key. And look at this, when I press enter, we get out of that field editing mode, and we can now write code as normal. Okay, so there are several ways to insert code snippets, and we have seen one of the ways is to simply right click and then select insert snippet from the context menu. The other way is, look at that, there is a keyboard shortcut, Control K and X. So I have my cursor right here, and when I type Control K X, look at that, we have the same interface to insert the code snippet. Okay, and the other way is to go to the edit menu, IntelliSense, and then select insert snippet from the context menu there. And the other way is to use the code snippet shortcut. So the code snippet shortcut for loop is for. Look at this, the moment I type for, within the Visual Studio IntelliSense, we have that code snippet for the for loop automatically selected. Now when I press the tab key twice, look at that, the code snippet for loop is automatically generated for us. And we change the editable fields in the same way as we did before. Alright, so these are the different ways to insert a code snippet in Visual Studio. Now, there are different types of code snippets, and the code snippets that we have discussed until now are expansion code snippets. So these snippets allow the code snippet to be inserted at the point where we had our cursor. So what I mean by that is, if I have my cursor here, and then the keyboard shortcut is Control KX, so let me type that, and when we insert a for loop, so at that point, the code snippet code is inserted. Those are expansion code snippet types. And then there is another set of code snippets called surrounds with. These snippets allow the code snippet to be placed around a selected piece of code. And for example, let's say I want this for loop to be surrounded by another for loop. I can simply select that piece of code, right click, and then select surrounds with option. Look at that, surround with. And then once we do that, we can select, for maybe I want to surround that with a for loop or a for each loop. Let's say I want to surround that with for loop. Look at that, this piece of code is now automatically surrounded with another for loop. And then the other type of code snippets are refactoring. We'll discuss these refactoring code snippets in a later video session. So to surround a code snippet with another piece of code, there are again several ways. We can either use the keyboard shortcut Control KS. So look at this. When I select this piece of code and then when I right click, look at that, I can pick up this option surround with, or we can use this keyboard shortcut Control KS. Or the other way is select the piece of code that you want to surround with, go to the edit menu, IntelliSense, and then select surround with option. Right. These code snippets can be used with any type of application that we can create with Visual Studio. Now, so far we have seen using code snippets with console application. Now here I have an ASP.NET MVC web application. So basically I can use code snippets within an MVC application as well. So here we have a controller. So for example, I want to generate some piece of code here. I can simply right click, select insert snippet. Look at that, we can insert the code snippets here as well. And not only within code files, even within views where we have some HTML, we can use code snippets. So for example, I want to generate the HTML for input type submit. Okay, to do that, again you right click, insert snippet, and then HTML. So for input button, so I select that, double click it, and look at that, the highlighted the editable fields are highlighted. Input type is equal to maybe submit, and you can give it a name and then a value. So code snippets can be used with any type of application that we can create with Visual Studio, not just with one specific type of application. And these code snippets are available for different languages. For C#, we have seen it for HTML, similarly for Visual Basic, Java, JavaScript, SQL, etc. And to arrive at this list, we can basically use snippet manager. So this code snippet manager can also be used to add or remove code snippets. So, and not only that, we can also find this information like the description of a code snippet, its shortcut, what is the snippet type, and the author of that snippet. All this information can be found in Code Snippet Manager. And to access Code Snippet Manager, simply select Code Snippet Manager from the Tools option in Visual Studio. So if we go back to Visual Studio, go to Tools, and then you should see there Code Snippet Manager, and the keyboard shortcut for that is Control K and Control B. So once we open that, look at that, here are the different languages. And once we expand a code snippet, for example, look at that, we have the description, shortcut, the snippet type, and the author. Alright. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.